Let's get started. Okay. So welcome everyone. Badram Karanebihi Shruniyama Devaha Badram Pashyema Akshabihir Yajatraha Stirair Tushtuvam Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitai Yadayuhu Swastinah Indro Vridrashravaha Swastinah Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastinah Tarksho Arishtanemihi Swastino Brihaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. So good evening, everyone, for another wonderful evening this Sunday. As you know, we have been doing this philosophical discussion every Sunday since March of last year, and this has been a continuous exercise. This is every week at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. We have met. We have discussed key philosophical concepts. We have been contemplating on Brahma Sutras, Purusha Suktas, and currently we are doing Bhagavad Gita. So, in that spirit, it's indeed a great privilege, and it's my pleasure to have Mohanadasa Prabhu as our first external expert speaker from Hungary. As you know, this year we want to have a series of external expert speakers to enlighten us and talk to us about the various shades of Vaishnava philosophy that we have. There is a unity among all Vaishnavites with regards to Krishna being the supreme person for all of us. But we want to understand from various shades of Vaishnava philosophy as to how each school approaches this supreme being. So I was when I invited Mohanadas Prabhu about 3 or 4 months ago, he was so enthusiastic, and he said, "Yes, can I do it this weekend?" Is exactly what he said. That's his enthusiasm. So over the weeks, we have been thinking about it. So Mohanadasa Prabhu, thank you very much for giving us this time and our opportunity to hear from you. So for those of us who are not familiar with Mohanadasa, who Mohanadasa is, I just want to spend the next 3 minutes to actually give you a background to this person. So Mohanadasa is very young compared to many of us who are in this audience. He is only 36 years old. Yeah, born in 1984. And Mohanadasa has always told us that he was born to parents who are atheist. So that always baffles me and surprises me. And but one thing when I sort of looked at his biography that struck me was our Vedic philosophy always talks about two aspects. One is called Prabhava and another one is called Swabhava. Prabhava is the environment in which you grow, but Swabhava is your intrinsic nature of your souls. So, what you do in your life is influenced by environmental and genetic forces, and at the same time, the intrinsic nature of your soul. So, looking at Mohanadas Prabhu and having known him for so many years, his Prabhava from childhood might have been different, but his Swabhava, the nature of his soul, is a sattvic soul. He is a sattvic soul, and that's the reason why wherever he has been born, he has adopted to this Vedic culture. In chapter 16, we all know that Krishna gives us 26 gunas of sattvikas, and I'm struggling to find if Mohanadasa is not ticking any of those boxes. So he's ticking many of those boxes. So he is a sattvic soul, and he tells us that from childhood he has always had interest in philosophy, but this took a very serious turn. It took a life-changing turn when he was 18 years of age. And again, Mohanadasa Prabhu, in Vedic philosophy, as you know, 18 is a very important number, and we discuss in our forums always. Mahabharata is 18 parvas, Gita is 18 chapters, the battlefield was for 18 days, and the Akshohinis are 18. The 16th entity is the Jiva, which is covered by 15 fences. The 17th entity is the Sri Tattva, and the 18th is the Vishnu Tattva or Krishna Tattva. So when you said your life turned when you were 18 years of age, that raised a few interesting thoughts in me. So that's the man. So at the age of 18 he commits himself to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and he joins the Budapest International Society for Krishna Consciousness Temple as a brahmachari. And again, when Mohanadasa mentioned that brahmachari, and again I remembered the famous verse from Katha Upanishad: "Sarve Vedaha Yat Padam Amananti, Tapamsi Sarvani Cha Yad Vadanti, Yat Ichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti," as Yama says Nachiketa. So those who want to seek the supreme take up brahmacharya. And what is that brahmacharya? Not just celibacy of controlling your indriyas, but Brahma, as you all know, is the Vedas, that is to study the Vedic philosophy. Because unless you control your senses and then study the Vedic philosophy, there is no way in which you're going to reach the Supreme or even make an attempt to know the Supreme. And again, the Brahmacharya that Mohanadasa Prabhu is doing is taking him in the right direction. So he is a dedicated disciple. His Veda Adhyayana, that is the study of the Vedic philosophy and Vedic scriptures, comes from His Holiness Sivarama Swami Maharaj, who is a direct disciple of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada himself, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. So he is indeed very lucky and fortunate to hear from a direct disciple of Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. And he had his first initiation in 2016, and then he had his Brahmana Diksha in 2009. And it also is very impressive to note that he has actually taken up a very formal study of Vedic philosophy. He has been a Vaishnava theologian, having studied Vedanta in Bhakti Vedanta College in Hungary, which is, as some of you will know, is the first Hindu center in Europe, a recognized Hindu center of learning in Europe. So for over 15 years, his main aim in life has been Vedic teaching and sharing the Vedic knowledge to the general public, be it in Hungary or the rest of Europe. And I know he has traveled quite widely. Presently, he is doing service in Krishna Valley, and we always release the photos that he sends from Radharani every week, every day. We always relish that from Mohanadasa Prabhu. So, without much ado, I just want to introduce this fantastic devotee of Krishna, Mohanadas Prabhu, whose title today is Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva, the Ontology of Love and Unity. So, Mohanadas Prabhu, we are looking forward to your talk. The stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Good evening, and I just would like to express my great gratitude to His Grace Madhusudan Prabhu, Madhusudan Professor, for inviting me to this elevated assembly. And I think there must be another Mohan Das who he was speaking about. I didn't recognize this Mohan Das from his words, but what was the fact that I am very fortunate to somehow rather came in contact with the wonderful culture of India and wonderful culture of Vaishnavism, Vedic knowledge. And I'm also very fortunate to have friends like you, Madhusudan Prabhu, and to be able to be in connection with all of you. And first of all, I just would like to uh, take one note, and this is just thank you for those amongst you who kindly participated in our previous one of our previous webinar that was about Food for Life activity that we do in Hungary, this charity food distribution. And I'm sure some of you amongst the audience now were kind enough to participating of sponsorship of one day of food distribution in Budapest. So thank you all very much for that. We closed a very successful year last year in terms of our charity activities, and at Christmas time we also vigorously spread the Krishna Prasadam. So some of you kindly helped in that. So thank you very much again. And yes, so our topic for tomorrow today is charity, and I try to divide this time that we have into mainly three parts. And first, I will do a little bit of introduction by introducing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's identity as a theological personality and a historical personality, because this Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva is, we could say, his philosophy. And after that, I will try to explain uh, the different ideas explaining reality from Western and also Vedic traditions. And I will try to summarize this Achintya Veda Tattva philosophy as the synthesis of all antithesis and theses. So this is what I will do in the middle part, and the last part I try to answer to your questions. And I hope that that you will ask some questions. What you can do is that during my talk I will just tell everything that I want to, and maybe you can write down your questions. Because only in the end I will stop for asking for questions. Um, but first of all, I would like to offer my prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatire Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtanutare Shrimate Shivaram Swami Hari Om Tat Sat. So I chose this subtitle to my presentation, The Ontology of Love and Unity. I will a little bit explain that later. But the main thing that I wanted to express with this subtitle is that the main reason and goal of this whole philosophy that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed and we could say shared is to bring all living entities closer to their original um, existential position, which is a lover of the Supreme, which is loving devotional service. And the word unity means that Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is a synthesis philosophy, as you will hopefully see, which means that Lord Chaitanya tries, and he succeeds, of course, as um, you will see how he succeeds, to bring all philosophical ideas together, which is, from material perspective, could be a little bit challenging, but as you will see, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he his teaching is directly from the transcendental realm, and therefore he's able to do the impossible, means creating the perfect. And so just let me briefly explain Lord Chaitanya's, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's identity. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Apyuttanama Dharmasya. So Krishna says that he comes millennium after millennium to this world whenever the religious knowledge is decreased or even destroyed. And according the Vedic scriptures like Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Upanishad, and some others, uh, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna's incarnation. He's the Kali Yuga avatar who descends to this in this age of Kali to spread the Yuga Dharma. Every yuga, every age has its particular religious or spiritual practice that takes the practitioners to spiritual perfection. And according to Shastra, is Kali Kalir Namarupa Krishna avatar. It means that in this age of Kali, the Supreme Lord descends in his form of the holy name and this congregational chanting of the holy name. It's stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna comes to this world in a golden form to spread this Sankirtan movement, which is the Yuga Dharma. Sankirtan means congregational chanting of the holy name, and this was what Lord Chaitanya taught to the living entities in this world. And Krishna, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this word, Krishna Varnam, Tisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam, Jagnyai Sankirtana Prayar, Yajantihi Sumedasa. It means that in the age of Kali, the intelligent people worship the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, who is Akrishna, which means not blackish or golden complexioned, who is Krishna himself in the form of a devotee. So this is Lord Chaitanya's theological identity according our Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, and as I mentioned, according Srimad Bhagavatam and many other scriptures, that he is the Supreme Lord who came in the form of his own devotee. Because when Krishna came 5,247 years ago, he introduced himself to the world as Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Matta Sarva Pravartate. Krishna says in the Gita, I am the source of everything, everything emanates from me. So mainly he introduces himself as the Supreme Lord. He's quite openly expresses his divinity, and he says, Matta Paratara Nanya, there is no truth that can be more elevated or superior to me. So he straightly says that he is God. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his theological identity is the same. He is Krishna himself, but he comes in the mood of his own devotee for the reason to be able to show the perfect example to the people of this Kali Yuga. Because in the age of Kali, most of the people, or many of the people, have difficulties with accepting the Supreme. It's not a very popular thing nowadays that there is a supreme and I am subordinate to him. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya, in a very humble way, he just acted as a devotee. He was washing the floor of the temple, he was glorifying the Supreme Lord, and whenever someone addressed him as the Supreme Lord, he was just covered his ears and ran away, and he said, no, I'm just Gopi Bartu Padakavalayor Dasa Dasa Anudasa. I'm just the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Although his devotees knew who he was, but in the same time, he hid his identity. He hid his identity. And as you see in this picture that I projected, behind Lord Chaitanya, there are two personalities. One is Krishna, and the other is Srimati Radharani. And particularly according Gaudiya Vaishnava theology, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna combined. That means Shaktiman is Krishna, he's the source of all energies, and Srimati Radharani, she's the female form of the Absolute Truth, and she's Shakti herself. So the Absolute Truth, according Gaudiya theology, is not just Krishna, but Radha and Krishna. So Krishna and his Shakti. And we find a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is that Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shaktir Asmad Ekatmanav Apibuvi Puradeha Bedam Gatautau. It says that Radha and Krishna are identically one, because Krishna and his Shakti, so they are one, but Deha Bedam Gatauto, they appeared in two Deha, two transcendental forms, for the sake of experiencing love, experiencing joy of the relationship. So Eko Bahusyam, as the Shruti says, that the one become two, and after that, of course, more. Krishna manifested himself and herself in the form of Radha and Krishna. And in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, these two transcendental identities are coming together again. Deha Bedam Gatauto. So, or Sri Chaitanya Prakata Maduna. So it means that in the form of Sri Chaitanya, these two identities came together. So Chaitanya is Radha Krishna, Nahe Anya is non-different from Radha and Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took birth in 1486 after Christ, and he took birth in Navadvip in Bengal, West Bengal, and particularly in Mayapur, Shida Mayapur. His name was Nimai because he took birth under a neem tree, as you see in this beautiful um, picture. And he took birth as in Brahmana family. Uh, Jagannath Mishra and Shachimata were his parents. They were very elevated brahmanas, and in his young age, between his birth till the 24th of his life, he was a grihasta. He got married twice actually, and because his first wife left her body in very young age, and his main activity was, after accepting initiation, is the spreading of the Sankirtan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took initiation in Brahma Madhva Sampradaya as a disciple of Ishvara Puri, who was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, of Srimad Vacharya. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, um, when he took initiation formally, then he started to chant this Hare Krishna mantra. He was in his 20s. And then he expressed the externally also the ultimate symptoms of ecstatic love of Godhead. And he spent his most of his times amongst his uh, the other devotee friends. You see in this picture the Pancha Tattva, which is Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, and Shivas. They were the most important associates of Lord Chaitanya, and they were singing the holy name of the Supreme Lord together, and they also spread that holy name around Navadvip and around whole Bengal. So this was the main activity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his young age, and in the age of 24, uh, he took initiation from he took sannyas initiation from Keshava Bharati, who was interestingly Advaita sannyasi. He was a follower of Shripad Shankaracharya, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to give the opportunity to the rest of the world to offer the obeisance to him and take him seriously. Because in Indian culture, if sometimes if a family person, if a grihasta teaches something, someone takes it seriously, someone not so much. But in the Vedic culture, a sannyasi is always very much respected. So therefore, for the benefit of the rest of the world, Sri Chaitanya took sannyas initiation. He left his family and left his wife, and accepted the renounced order of life, and he moved to Jagannath Puri, to Orissa. And the next 6 years after his initiation, sannyas initiation, he traveled around India, spreading the Sankirtan movement very, very successfully. Sri Chaitanya, his main activity was coming and going to one place to the other throughout India, and just singing and make everyone sing. He just said Hari Bol, Hari Bol. He just encouraged everyone to sing, and he was very, very successful spreading this Sankirtan movement all over the subcontinent. In the other case, he also taught philosophy but only for selected people. He didn't speak so much philosophy to the common people. He spoke only to scholars. On this particular picture that you see, he converted a great Mayavad teacher, Mayavad sannyasi called Prakashananda Saraswati. He had 60,000 disciples. He was, of course, a follower of Shankaracharya, Mayavadi philosopher. And Lord Chaitanya had a debate, which is described in very much detail in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he defeated the Advaitavad and established his Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva philosophy. And he also convinced all the Mayavadi sannyasis to join to him in his Sankirtan. And many other occasions he met great scholars and converted them to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And Sri Chaitanya, he didn't write much. He wrote only 8 verses, which is called Shikshashtakam. But he taught his dedicated followers, scholars, and the most important amongst them were the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. You can see Shri Rupa, Shri Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatta, Shri Jiva, Gopala Bhatta, and Raghunath Das Goswamis. They were Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's most important followers and disciples. These people, the 6 great sadhus, great saints, were very, very elevated people socially. Sanatan and Rupa Goswamis, Sanatan was the prime minister of Bengal under Nawab Hussain Shah, and Rupa Goswami was the finance minister. And after that, they gave up their political position, and they also accepted the renounced order, moved to Brindavan, as you see, the holy land of Krishna, and they spend their time writing books about Sri Chaitanya's philosophy. Nana Shastra Vicharanoi Kanipuno. It is said that they summarized all the Vedic literatures from the perspective of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gaudiya Vaishnava Vedanta. And they established the
Not sure if we have lost Mohanadasa Prabhu in audio. Can you all hear him?
No, no.
We can't hear him, Madhu.
Okay. I will send him a text in a minute.
hear me anymore?
Yeah, we can hear you, Prabhu, now. Yeah, you can continue.
Okay.
Share your screen, please.
Yeah, I want, but the problem is that when I come out from share screen with what I did accidentally, then my camera goes away.
Okay.
I don't know why. Yeah, I think what we can do. It won't come back, I guess. No. Yeah.
Sudarshan, do you want to give Mohandas Prabhu the host and see whether it might work?
Yes, I will make him the host now, Madhu.
Yeah, will do.
So when did my voice go away?
He's the host now, Madhu.
Thank you. What was the last thing that you heard?
So
that he summarized all Veda from the perspective of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gaudiya perspective.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna. Thank you for being with us.
I think we lost you for about 2 minutes, I think, Prabhu.
No, it wasn't that much,
no?
Because this was mainly the last thing.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay, but now you lost me in the camera because once it goes, it doesn't come back, only if I go out from Zoom and come back to Zoom, but I don't want to waste your valuable time with that. Okay, I'm not so important to be seen. What do you think, Madhusudan Prabhu?
Yeah, sure. Share your slides, Prabhu. We can't see your slides at all unless
You
others
can't
are
see my slides as well.
No, we can't see your slides unless others can see it.
No.
Oh, that's a shame.
Sorry to interrupt. It's easier if Mohan just exits the meeting and rejoins. It's 10 seconds, and probably the camera and the screen sharing will resume.
Yeah.
What do you think? Okay, just at least give it a try.
Yeah.
Share screen.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, do you want to make Madhusudanji as a co-host because you are the main host now? And then
yes,
we can
fine. Okay.
can
All
see.
right. You're
Okay.
back on.
It means the slides are back. I am not back, right?
Yeah, you're there in the background, so we can see, we can hear you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Okay, that's enough. That's quite enough from Mohan, right?
No, we can hear, we can see you as well.
Yeah, because I did some extra lights which make me blind, but at least I'm visible.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yes. Excellent.
So this is, we say, the devil of technique. I don't know if it works in English, but okay. So the Goswamis wrote down the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and then so all the Gaudiya philosophies was established by them.
Something happened. Everything stopped.
Oh, so it came when I came back.
So then.
It's not okay again?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Audio is fine. Manjunath Paiji, if you want to mute your audio, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, just summarizing, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made a prediction that Pritevitya Chilata Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachari Horbe Moranam. It means that this philosophy of his will be spread in every town, Nagara Adigram, in every town and village throughout the whole world. And this prediction was fulfilled by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So he was the one who took Gaudiya philosophy, of course, all Vedic philosophy, around the world. He wrote over 60 volumes of books about Vaishnava Vedanta, and he circumambulated, he went around the world 14 times, and established over 108 temples all around the world. So he fulfilled this prediction, this prophecy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore most people of the Western world have the access to this Gaudiya philosophy and Vaishnava Vedanta philosophy. And the rest of the presentation that I will make, I will do according His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj's seminar entitled Vedic Philosophy Overview. Srila Shivaram Swami, as it was mentioned, he's my beloved spiritual master, direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And he made this genius seminar, three days seminar of Vaishnava Vedanta philosophy. And I warmly suggest you to listen to that. Some of you maybe heard it. It's available. I will share the link after that with Madhusudan, so you can find it. It's in Shivaram Swami's own podcast, very easily available in internet. So whatever I will say from now and will make some sense, it's because I repeated what Maharaj said in that seminar, and whatever won't make any sense, it will be my foolishness. So please take my words in that way. So, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, as Shruti says, as Brahma Sutra says, that the real meaning of human life and the real goal of human life is inquiring about Brahman, about the absolute truth. And in this picture, we see one gentleman and one gentlemonkey thinking. So according to Vedic philosophy, the real difference between human beings and all other beings, actually, and animals, is that we have the privilege of, we have the opportunity to think about the absolute truth, to searching after the absolute truth. And maybe this gentle monkey is also thinking, but the main topic that he's thinking about is eating, sleeping, and defending. And of course, people are also think about those things, but we have the opportunity to think about something more. And I would like to begin this explanation of the Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva philosophy with the thought and with the main, one of the main questions or problems of human philosophy, which is the body-mind problem. So body-mind problem is trying to or is about how can we understand the world, the existence around us, in a way that we have to understand that the source of the problem is that we experience in this world that there is matter that surrounds us in this material world, which has physical existence and form, but does not have consciousness. And we, as living entities, we experience this matter around us because we have consciousness. So this makes two main problematic categories or two experiences. One is that matter exists physically, but it's unconscious. And we as living entities, we are conscious, but the mind means the consciousness is not a physical thing. It's metaphysical or it's transcendental. So mainly the body-mind problem is how to understand the relationship, the oneness and the difference between matter and spirit, the transcendence and transcendence. So this is the main topic of all philosophical thoughts and researches. And the different philosophies approaching this body-mind problem or matter and spirit problem is can be categorized by three categories, which is monism, dualism, and nihilism. And we will just briefly go through these. Of course, you all know these philosophical categories or ideas, but monism gives the idea that they try to solve the body-mind problem or matter-spirit problem with one ontological category. They say that there is only one category of existence, and they try to explain the world from that one category. And of course, monism has two versions. One is idealism, and the other is materialism. Idealism teaches that everything is spirit, and materialism teaches that everything is matter. And both of these philosophies has difficulties or have problems. For example, idealism is facing with the problem that if everything is spiritual, everything that exists is just the mind or just the transcendence or just the spirit, then what is this material world around us? Where the forms come, where the material objects come, and if everything is spirit, that so what then what's matter? And the problem is very difficulty. So they always faces these difficulties, and the thing is that when they try to explain reality in a monist way, then they always meet dualities. For example, just give one example is the Advaita philosophy. Shankaracharya, he was a monist, he said, and he says that everything is Brahman and nothing else exists. He said that Brahma Satyam Jagamritya. Only reality is Brahman, which doesn't have qualities, doesn't have form, doesn't have anything. And Jagamritya means the world around us is just false, is just illusion. Okay, but how is that? I experience Brahman. If nothing else exists, only Brahman, that how can I experience matter? Where this experience is coming from, where this world around us and where this illusion itself comes from, if it was an illusion. And then what Shankara says, this whole whole world around us is nothing else than Maya. It's just an illusion. Okay, but if you said first that there is only one thing, which is Brahman, and now you're speaking about an illusion as well. So you are not monist anymore, you are dualist, because you accepted another ontological category, which is Maya. And there are, of course, other contradictory statements of that philosophy. But what we saw is that they try to be monist, but because of the nature of reality, we immediately meet something else than that ontological category, which is transcendence in his case. And materialism is also a monistic philosophy, because they say that there is only one thing, and that's matter. And they also have a problem, because if we see that everything that is material is unconscious and we are conscious, then they just can't explain where the consciousness comes from, how the unconscious matter becomes conscious. They don't have an answer for that. And I brought a very interesting definition from the this is a definition of matter by the materialist philosophers, and it's very, very interesting. So I will just read it to you. So this is a definition for matter according materialistic philosophers, and they say matter in theoretical sense is a philosophical category designating an objectively existing reality which is independent from our consciousness. And it is the basic category of materialistic philosophy. So this definition I found very interesting, because we ask, okay, if there is only one thing that exists is matter, what matter is according your definition? And they say briefly in this sentence that matter is something that is not consciousness. It's here. So matter is a philosophical category which is independent from our consciousness. So again, it's dualism, because you can't explain matter without explaining that there is consciousness. So matter is something that is different from consciousness. It means that consciousness is different from matter. It means that there are two things. So you can't be monist if you try to explain reality, because reality is just like this. And the other version of philosophers, other category of different philosophies, although there are unlimited varieties between all categories, is dualism. Dualism states that there are two categories of existence. One is matter and the other is spirit. And these categories are completely separated. They can't mix with each other. So transcendence, matter is matter. They can't interact. There was, for example, one philosopher, of course, Descartes, you all know. He said, yes, God exists. He creates the world. He's completely transcendental, but he doesn't have any interaction with the world. He just creates it. This is the deism, that God created this world, but after that left the world alone. And we can't have any relationship with God. At least matter doesn't have any relationship with God, and that. But then they face another serious problem, which is if matter and spirit completely different from each other, then how is it that I'm a spirit soul, but I am under the effect of matter? For example, to be personal, when I'm hungry, I become very frustrated. You know, my body is a material thing and my belly is empty, But I am, as conscious being, I am become frustrated. It means that matter has an effect on consciousness. And so if these two categories can't mix with each other, completely separated, completely different, then how is it possible? How is our experience that I want to raise my hand? My hand is material, and the desire to move it, it's from the mind, so it's spiritual from that perspective. So how is it that my desire, just by desiring it, matter moves? And dualism, at least in this sense of the Western types of dualism, just can't solve this problem correctly. They always come back to the problem that, yeah, matter and spirit, although different, but there is some oneness between them. There is some meeting, there is some reaction between the two. So dualism is also not able to answer the body-mind problem completely correctly. And there is the third category, which is nihilism. I don't want to spend so much time explaining that, because it's just completely irrational, because we experience that there is matter and there is spirit, and what nihilism says, that they just don't exist, none of them. Dualism says that both of them exist. Materialism says only matter exists. Idealist says only spirit exists, and nihilism says nothing exists. Okay, but if nothing exists, that who is speaking? Who is saying that nothing exists? And what is this experience that we experience around us, this world? Who am I who experiencing it? If I don't exist, if the world doesn't exist, so then what? And I just give one example for that. He's Nagarjuna. He was a Buddhist philosopher, actually the last Buddhist philosopher in India. And he writes this little dialogue. And he begins with the dialogue with saying, everything is void and empty. And the other person in the dialogue says, okay, but if everything is void and empty, that your philosophy is also void and empty. And Nagarjuna says, of course. So what they do mainly is they express that they just nothing to do with logic or rational thinking. They just believe in this nihilism. They believe in this voidism, but can't explain anything from this philosophy. So therefore we don't take too much time to speaking about nihilism. So what we saw, just a little bit summarizing, is that there is the thesis and there is the antithesis. There is monism, is the thesis that there is only one thing, and then the antithesis for that is dualism. No, there is two things, and they are in argument. There is a conflict between them. And impersonalism, yes, the supreme is impersonal. This is the thesis. And antithesis, no, it's personal. He's personal. So there is a contradiction. And the same with deism, is God is somewhere else and we can't have any relationship with him. And pantheism says that everything is God, the whole world is just God, and God become the word, and like that. And some philosophers says that the word is real. And other philosophers say, no, it's a little illusion. We are all one. No, there are differences. So there are all these contradictory teachings in philosophies. And in the end of the day, we see if someone tries to explain reality from monistic perspective, always meet dualism somehow. Dualism just jumps out. Somehow it comes up. You can't avoid it. And the same with dualism and like that. So there is this contradiction, but also there is this oneness in the philosophies. You find dualism in monism and monism in dualism and vice versa. So what would be nice from objective perspective, as an honest seeker of the absolute truth, have a thesis between the would have a synthesis between the thesis and the antithesis. And this is what Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva is about. And first of all, I just would like to tell this short story that most of you must know, with the blind people and the elephant. This is a very common analogy using all Vedic schools. So there were blind people and they went to see an elephant, not to see, but to visit an elephant. And one of them was touching the tail of the elephant, and the other one was touching the leg of the elephant and the belly and the ear and the trunk. And after that, this experience, they started to speak about what is an elephant. And one said, elephant is like a snake, was told by the guy who was touching the tail. And the other one said, how can you say that? Elephant is like a big pillar or a tree, because he was touching the leg. And the third one he said, no, it's like a cloth, because it's just, was touching the ear of the elephant, and so on. And all of these people were right in their own way, but at the end of the day, they didn't understand what an elephant is. Because the elephant, all of these things, the snake, the pillar, the clothes, everything, but the elephant, of course, is much more than that. There is a whole elephant, and they just understood some parts of it. So we could say that all materialistic and human philosophies tries to understand reality, which is the complete whole, the absolute truth, and they just touch one part of it. And the Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva philosophy teaches and gives the whole picture of the absolute truth. This is the synthesis philosophy that brings all philosophies together, but all the philosophies find their places in this complete picture, like the puzzle, when you make a whole picture of small parts of the puzzle. So Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva, it means philosophy of inconceivable oneness and difference. This is the translation of the title of this philosophy. And Sri Chaitanya says, and this philosophy says, yes, there is only one ontological category that creates the whole existence, and that's Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the source of everything. As it's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavu matta sarvam pravartati. Krishna says that I am the cause of all causes, I am the source of everything, and nothing exists that is not Krishna. Everything is Krishna. But also there is a but, because as Shruti says, Parasya Shakti Vividaiva Shruyate. It means that the Supreme has Shaktis, has his energies or his potencies. There is Shaktiman, which is the source of all Shakti, is Krishna. And there is Shakti, which is embodied by Shrimati Radharani, and which is all energies of the Lord. And we can say that the Shakti and the Shaktiman are equal, but also they are different in the same time. And Jiva Goswami, one of Lord Chaitanya's disciples, who wrote in very much detail the Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva philosophy in his Tattva Sandarbha, he gives an example, and he says that there is fire, and fire burns. So the fire itself has the potency to burning, and the effect of the burning effect of the fire, we could say it's non-different from the fire itself, but it's also, there is a difference, because when we say that fire burns, why do you use this two words, fire and burns. Why don't we say just burns, burns, or fire, fire? Because there is a difference, because there is the fire itself, but it has the potency to burn. So in the same time, the Supreme Lord, he has all Shaktis. He's the source of all Shakti, and he's one with his Shakti and also different from his Shakti simultaneously. And this is inconceivable for our mind. So this was just a very short explanation of it. And so as we said, Krishna has Shakti, but Krishna has different type of Shaktis, different type of energies. He has Antaranga Shakti, which is his eternal spiritual realm, kingdom of God, the transcendental world. He has his Bahiranga Shakti, which is Prakriti, which is the material world around us. And he also has the Tatashta Shakti, which we are, which are the living entities. And all the three Shaktis of Krishna are one with Krishna and also different from Krishna. So the spiritual world is Krishna's internal energy, his own realm, Satchit Ananda world. And Bahiranga Shakti, this material world, this is also his creation, his energy. He is in every atom of this. He is the material cause of everything. Means he is where the whole Shakti comes from, but he also differs from it. He has his own spiritual identity in the spiritual world, and he is nothing to do with matter in other hand. And we as living entities, we also part and parcels of Krishna. So in one sense, we are one with him, as one cell of our body is also our body, but also there is a qualitatively oneness, but quantitatively difference between us and Krishna. So let me just give a few Shastric references, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he didn't figure out anything. So when we say that Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva is Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, it's not. This is the absolute truth. This is the Vedic philosophy. Lord Chaitanya didn't say anything that wasn't written in the Shastra before. So it's not his philosophy. It's his perfect explanation of the Vedanta philosophy, but it's in the Shastra. And here I mentioned the Aham Sarvasya verse. So this defines Krishna as we could say, from monistic perspective, it's a monistic philosophy, because there is only one ontological category that exists, which is Krishna. Aham, Krishna says, I am the source. Nothing else is the source, only me. But in the other verse, the 15th chapter, we see that Krishna says, Mama Ivam Sujiva Loke, that the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts, and due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hardly with the six senses. So Krishna mentions both these plural ontological categories. He says, there is me, which is the source. There is my eternal fragmental parts, which are the living entities. And due to their conditioned life, due to Maya, which is also Krishna's Bahiranga, Antaranga Shakti, which is material energy, the living entity is struggling. So this verse summarizes very nicely this theology, because then we see ourselves, we see God, and we see the material world. But in the light of the previous verse, this is Aham Sarvasya, but all of these categories are emanating from Krishna. And there are the next two verses, which is in the 9th chapter. Krishna says, by me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I'm not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation. So this is the again, we find the Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva philosophy in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, I am the source of this word, and I am in this word, but I'm also out of this word, and this is part of me, and I'm also separated from it. I am everywhere, but I am not in the cosmos. So this is inconceivable oneness and difference. And the next verse will be from the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. This is most of you know, one of the Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam, one of the most important 4 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Vishnu teaches Lord Brahma the beginning of creation. And he says, Lord Vishnu says, O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time, I'm out of everything. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this example of the touchstone, the philosopher's stone, Chintamani. According to Vedic and also European tradition, there is this Chintamani, that is a special gem that you touches into with iron, and iron turns to gold. And Chaitanya says, in the same way, the Supreme Lord touches this material energy of his, and he creates this world, but he stays separately. So the Chintamani doesn't become gold, but with his mystic potency, he creates gold from matter, from iron. In the same way, the supreme source of everything, from his own energy, creates this material world, but he stays out of it. As Isha Upanishad says, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam Purnat Udachyate, Purnasyam Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. That the complete whole, the Purnam, creates the word, but he stays Purnam. You take the word out of God, we could say, but God stays still complete. He doesn't become the word, but the word is not different from him. So this is the inconceivable oneness and difference. And I will just give a few practical examples how this philosophy can be utilized in our daily life. And I just briefly mentioned, because I'm beginning of running out of my time a little bit, but I just mentioned that although...
Prabhu, sorry to interrupt. You got about 11 minutes. I just wanted to remind you. Yeah, thank you.
I know, but I know how many things I want to say. Therefore, I say that I'm running out of time. So although there is, I wanted to show you this. This Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva is the synthesis of all other philosophies. And interestingly, this concept of Achinthya means inconceivability. Yeah, okay, sorry. So it's a difficult word to say. So this conception of Achinthya, I use this word because it's easier, all the other philosophies use. So all the other philosophies try to utilize or try to use this concept of Achinthya. Just give a few examples. When you ask materialists, that how is it possible that matter which is not conscious creates consciousness? Because this is what they say. And they say, you know, the material elements are combining in such a way that they create consciousness. And okay, you say that somehow, but somehow means what? Somehow means that you don't know how is that, which is inconceivable. So it's inconceivable how the unconscious matter can create something conscious. So they use the concept of inconceivability. Or monism. How is it that everything is one, but we also see this world around us so many varieties? Oh, it's just somehow anirvachaniya. We can't tell, but it's somehow. It's unexplainable, unconceivable. Okay, and so many other examples for that. And there are, according Jiva Goswami, there are 4 laws using this inconceivability, this Achinthya Tattva. You just can't say everything inconceivable. Somehow it's inconceivable. And these four laws I just mentioned very briefly. One is that you can use this Achinthya conception only real things. You can't say for unreal things. So for example, nihilists say, it's inconceivable how nothing creates everything. Okay, but if there is nothing, you can't use Achinthya anymore. And you can't contradict the law of cause and effect. It means that you can't say that the effect is more than the cause, because it's completely illogical that I have become more than God, and it's inconceivable how it happened. So you also can't use in that conception. And also you can't use Achinthya in a way that it contradicts the sense perception. I experience that this word has qualities, and someone says there is no qualities, and it's inconceivable how you experience that there are no, that they don't exist. So it's just cheating. It's not a rational way using the conception of Achinthya. And also the Achinthya means that inconceivable things have to come from conceivable things. For example, we say Krishna is one with his creation and different from his creation. But creation is real, and we experience things that are one with something. We experience things that are different from something. And what is inconceivable, that how these things are simultaneously one and different. But we just can't say that. So we just can't use this conception of Achinthya for everything that we can't explain. Oh, it's Achinthya, it's inconceivable, just accept it. So have to be in a very logical and very honest way. Yeah, so I jump over this. I don't have time to explain that, about how practically we can use Achinthya in daily life. If someone is interested in a question and answer session, I can give a few examples how Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva help us in daily life, in practical life, because now it's a little bit more philosophical, but it's a very practical thing that can help our daily life. If someone is interested, I explain in few minutes a little bit later. And I just want to, the last point that I want to make is that desires behind all philosophies. It means that all these human-made philosophies like materialism and nihilism and monism and deism and all these are, if you search and if you honestly study these, you will see the underlying desires behind them. So it's not like that people were just so honestly seeking after the absolute truth and they ended up become a materialist because they just wanted to understand the word. They did their best and they recognized that there is only matter, nothing else, or something like that. No. As human beings, we are emotional entities. Be honest with us. Even the greatest philosophers are emotionally motivated. And just giving a few examples, of course, materialism is very very easy to understand the underlying desire. Ishvaroham aham bhogi, as Krishna says. I am the enjoyer and I am the controller. So if a soul, if a living entity has the desire to be the controller of the world and they don't want to accept the supreme controller and they want to enjoy this material world, they don't want to accept that there is a supreme enjoyer of this world and I'm just a servant of him, then they create materialism. And someone adopts materialism or accepts materialism because of this underlying desire. He wants to be the Ishvara. He wants to be the Bhogi. And therefore, this materialistic philosophy facilitates that underlying desire. And nihilism. I'm just so frustrated having so many, bad experience and pains and suffering in this material world. I just want to shut the door, turn off the light, and just leave me alone. Nothing exists. Why? Because I don't want anything to exist, because I'm suffering so much because of that. This is a suicide tendency. Or monism, I want to be the supreme, aham, saham, yes, soham, I am that, I am God, I want to be God, so therefore I adopt this philosophy of monism. And I could give other examples. And Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva also has an underlying desire. And it also facilitates a desire. And that desire is the eternal bhakti, is the eternal devotion in the perfect living entity's heart or consciousness to serve and love the absolute truth. So the other philosophies are motivated with material desires of the imperfect conditioned souls. And this philosophy of Lord Chaitanya, this Vaishnava Vedanta philosophy, is motivated by the eternal desire of the spirit soul to serve God, to be with God, to go back to Godhead. And actually, Lord Chaitanya's philosophy facilitates in the perfect way and perfect rational logical way, the eternal desire of the soul to reunite with the Supreme Lord. And therefore, the conclusion is that this is the ontology of love and unity. Because if there is only difference and there is only oneness, then love and unity is not experienceable. For the soul to love God, have to be separated from God. Can't just do kaivalya, I merge into God, because I can't love him. If I merge into the the vanilla ice cream, that I can't taste it. If I merge into God, I can't taste his sweetness, his beauty, his wonderful nature. So if I want love, I need Beda. And if I want to give myself to God and I want to understand my spiritual nature as part and parcel of God and a spiritual living entity, then I have to understand the Abheda. I have to understand the unity, that I am eternally unseparated from God. I belong to his spiritual realm, to his spiritual identity. And this is an ontology. This is a perfect rational ontology that is provides, that facilitates the eternal desire of the living entity to love the Supreme. And as I have mentioned, this philosophy of Lord Chaitanya was predicted to be spread all over the world. Lord Chaitanya made this prophecy that this will be globalized, this Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva philosophy and this whole bhakti culture of Chaitanya. And as I mentioned, Srila Prabhupada was the one who made this prophecy real. And just one example for that I want to give, and I want to conclude with this, is a gentleman or a rock band called Kula Shaker. It's funny because Kula Shaker was, of course, a Maharaj, a great Vaishnava poeter and a great Vaishnava saint, but they made Kula Shaker, like shaking. So it's a very famous rock band in the 90s and the 2000s. And they were from Britain. And the singer and the establisher of this band was a devotee. And you can see him on the picture. And he wrote a song about Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva. And he just made word tours for many years, going around the world and singing in rock festivals about Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. And I was thinking it's a nice slide to conclude our session, how Lord Chaitanya's perfect philosophy was spread all over the world, and even in the rock world, it's accepted. So just please allow me 1 minute, will be just one part of this song. Please enjoy it.
Prabhu, we can't hear, so I think you may have to optimize your audio and video.
Oh,
so we can't hear you.
You can't hear.
We can't hear your audio, Prabhu.
Uh-huh.
So I think you may have to, when there is a prompt, I think you have to optimize your audio in Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, it's not a great loss. I just wanted to make this as a nice conclusion.
Let's see if it'll come on.
Yeah, optimize. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Where is that?
Yeah. So now it should work.
You think it will work? Okay, try. Do you hear?
You need to click the audio button, I think, Prabhu. Have you clicked it? We can't hear.
You can't hear.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe I just show the title that you can't hear it, but you can. I just recite you the words of it. So it's very nicely done. I just try to exit full screen. Yeah, it's here. So he sings Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva, like the flower and the scent of summer, like the sun and the shine, where the truth may come in strange disguises, send a message to your mind. And he sings, the refrain is Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva. So he sings a whole song about this, and I think it's a very nice example is given, like the flower and the scent of summer, so you feel the fragrance of the summer, of the flower during the summertime, but the flower is one with the fragrance and also different from it, and the sun is also one with the shine and also different from it. So it just makes Lord Chaitanya's philosophy available and acceptable for common people. And I just thought it's interesting for Indian audience to hear a rock song about Vaishnava Vedanta philosophy. Okay, so I thank you very much for your attention. This much I wanted to speak on my own, and I just want to hear your questions.
Yeah.
Although I want to show this beautiful last, yeah. Do you see?
Yeah.
Do you see Radha Shyam?
Absolutely beautiful.
Okay, so they are the worshipable deities of New Vrajadam, Krishna Valley, where I stay. Radha and Krishna, the Shakti and the Shaktiman, they are Veda and Abeda. They are one and also different from each other. So Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, thank you very much.
So Mohanadasa Prabhu, wonderful lecture. Thank you very much. My first thank you is that you made time and effort to join us this evening. And my second thank you is you stuck to time and we finished it on time. So we got quite a few Q&As, and I know a few people have already sent me questions. So I'll call upon them as we go around. But I'm going to take the chair's prerogative here, and I'm going to start off with a couple of questions that I have from the Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva point of view. The last section of your talk, I found it quite interesting as to what is the definition of Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva. So from Madhvacharya's Tattvavada, which is not the dualism that you had cited, I understood that your dualism was from a Western philosophical perspective.
Yeah, that was from Descartes. That's nothing to do with.
Sure, absolutely.
No.
So from the Tattvavada perspective, Achinthya Bedhabhedha Tattva actually has been defined by Vedavyasa himself in a work called Brahma Tarka, where he gives 3 criteria as to how the unimaginable power of the Supreme can be understood. And Vedavyasa in Brahma Tarka says, the Vedavyasa from the Brahma Tarka gives, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I hear.
So he gives 3 definitions. One is, whatever Achinthya Bedhabhedha potency is being described, the first criteria is it should have evidence from Apaurushaya Veda or Shrutis. The second criteria is the contradictory qualities that is being described should be present in the same space and time correlation. They should be simultaneously present. And the third criteria is it should elevate the greatness of the Supreme. So unless these three criteria are not met, the Achinthya Beda Abheda Tattva becomes a bit shaky, because you could say if God is so potent, why can't he make himself disappear and just die away and disappear? If he's so potent, why can't he die? Why can't he disappear? So that is the definition that Veda Vyasa has given in his Brahmatarka. So the reason why I said this, I want to follow on the discussion. From your presentation, I understood from the Achinthya Beda Abheda Tattva that Krishna transforms himself into the material world. Correct me if I've understood wrong. Krishna transforms a portion of himself into the material world. And the jivas, you said eternally separated. The separation essentially means that it was not different and that it got separated at some point. So that separation is a bit problematic. So correct me if I wrongly understood it. Are the jivas separated from the Brahman or Krishna, which means they were the same as Krishna once and they've separated at some point, we just do not know when. So if that is the case, my question is, how would you account for the differences of predispositions of souls or jivas? How would you account for evil? How would you account for all the bad things that you see if everything is emanating from Krishna himself, and Krishna is the pure being that you can ever think of? So I had two questions there. So I would stop there, and after your response, I will invite the others to contribute.
Yes. Thank you very much for your question, and I just back to the Lord and to my spiritual master to be able to answer. And please, Hare Krishna Dasi and Pundarik Prabhu, if you hear me saying something bad, please kindly correct me, because you are much more knowledgeable than me. So if your first statement was that Vyasadeva explained this philosophy and made it three feltétel condition, that it have to come from Shruti. It comes, I explained, from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. I also mentioned Upanishad. So it have to be simultaneously. Yes, it's also there, and elevate the Supreme. So it means that you can't say that God is just dying. Why can't he die? Because if he would be able to die, then it won't elevate himself. It would make him mortal. So, but you said that the Lord transforms himself to the word. It's not what I wanted to express. If I made, then I made a mistake. What I wanted to express is that the Lord eternally has these three categories of energies or potencies or shaktis, and Bahiranga Shakti is one of his eternal potencies, which is the material world, and he manifests from himself this material existence, but he won't become the existence himself. He eternally, transcendentally exists in his Antaranga Shakti, in his spiritual realm. So it's not pantheism. It means that Krishna doesn't become the word. Actually, he says himself here, he says that yet everything created does not reside in me, and I am everywhere, and I'm not part of this cosmic manifestation. So Krishna is everywhere in a sense that his energies are spreading everywhere. He's everywhere in terms that, or in a sense that he, as Paramatma, he is in every atom and he is in every living entity's heart. So he is everywhere with his potencies, but he simultaneously and inconceivably exist separately from the word. And what you brought up, that the jiva is so till now is it make sense? Because this was just the third part of your question.
Yeah, carry on. Thank you. Yeah, please carry on.
So, and you ask that how is that the jiva separates himself from Brahman? The jiva is Brahman, sarva kavidam Brahman, nothing, the jiva is nothing else than Brahman. His nature is Satchit Ananda, and he's eternally part and partial of God. He's unseparable from Krishna, and he's this Tata Shakti, as Lord Chaitanya explains, which is the marginal potency of the Lord. There is the internal potency, which is the spiritual realm. There is the external potency, which is Prakriti, which is the word. And the spirit soul is in a marginal position and has the right to choose. He wants to go or she wants to go to the Antaranga Shakti. He wants to be with God in the eternal realm. He wants to serve the Supreme, or he wants to Krishna Bahir Mukha Kona Bhogyavan Chakare. Lord Chaitanya says that when the soul has the desire to bhogya, to selfish enjoyment, then Bahir Mukha, he turns away his face from Krishna. And the example that I like very much, because you also asked how is it that shadow or these bad things comes from God? How is it that there is suffering, there is mortality, there is sin? How, if everything emanates from God, how how bad things could happen with good people, mainly if God is good? Your question was, but the thing is that when Bahirmukha Kona, when the soul turns away from the Supreme, then his face will be in shadow. If you are standing on the sunshine, and you turn your back to the sun, then your face will be in darkness. And if you go into the shade of a tree, then you will feel cooler because the sunrise can't heat you up. So it means that when the living entity wants to go into this shadow-like world, even Plato says that this is a shadow, this world is a shadow, and Krishna gives the example like the mirage of the tree in the river. He gives this example in the Bhagavad Gita. So this world is a shadow of reality. When the spirit soul enters into this shadow, then he loses the qualities of transcendence. So originally Satchit Ananda, but at once the soul becomes Asat, Achit, and Nirananda. So the soul forgets his eternal spiritual identity. It means Achit, and Asat means we take birth and we die, we take birth and we die. Of course, the soul is eternal, but we experience the mortality through this immortal body. And Nirananda, we can't experience the joy because we turn away from the source of joy, which is the Supreme. So Krishna is not responsible for the bad things that happens into this material world, because he didn't make us to come here. This is the free will of the Tatashta Shakti to choose Krishna or choose the material world. And this is only our responsibility. And this is our eternal right to turn back towards Krishna. And this is all spirituality is meant for.
Thank you very much, Mohandas Prabhu. So we'll move on to other Q&A. So we've had a few questions come through chat, and we also had people who've raised their hands. So I want to go to...
Sorry, but was it satisfying?
That's fine. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, we can, of course, continue with the discussion outside the forum. We got limited time here.
Yeah.
So I was going to invite Suresh Kankanwadi from London, who I believe has got two questions for you. Suresh, go on.
Thanks, Madhuji. Prabhuji, first of all, thank you. Thanks for the wonderful lecture. Very
Suresh,
clear.
please, video on.
Yeah. Can you see me?
Yeah, perfectly. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Prabhuji. Wonderful lecture. Very clear. Thank you. I just had a couple of questions. I mean, picking up from the thought that Madhuji had just said. If I understood it correctly, what differentiates between Krishna and the rest of the jivas is quantity, is what I heard. So I just wanted to make sure that was the right understanding, that it is qualitatively Krishna and the rest of the jivas are abheda, they are non-different. But the reason we see difference is because there is quantitative difference. And I had a couple of questions related to that, but I just wanted to know if this understanding, if I was following it right when you were explaining, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suresh, for your question. So yeah, we could say that this oneness and difference between God, between Krishna and the Jivatma is Beda and Abeda. So we are one with the Supreme in a sense that the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is Satchit Ananda, he is made from these three spiritual energies, means eternity, consciousness, and happiness. And we are also made from these three spiritual energies, or the spiritual energies described in the three categories, Satchit and Ananda. But Krishna is unlimitedly conscious because he knows everything that happens. And I am just limitedly conscious. I know what I think, but sadly, I don't know what you think, although I'm sure that you have very nice thoughts. So it would be nice to know. So it means that Krishna is unlimitedly chit. I'm just limitedly chit. And Krishna is eternally eternal, means he can never come under the effect of matter and mortality. And me as a Jivatma, I came to this temporary world and I have to experience this temporary nature, although I'm eternal. So I'm not completely eternal, then Krishna is eternal, because I have the experience of mortality because of my illusion. And Krishna is unlimitedly Ananda, he's eternally happy, and I'm sometimes happy, sometimes sad. If I turn away from Krishna, I will be sad. And even in the material world, there is this ups and downs. So, but when we say that quantitatively, it means that Krishna is infinite and the Jiva is infinitesimal. So Krishna is unlimited and we are very, very small and very tiny. But we are also one because the spiritual nature is there, as Krishna is spiritual and we are also spiritual. Was it clear?
No, thanks, Prabhuji. But just to make sure I'm following it, but we are part of Krishna, end of the day. But
Yeah.
it's just the fact that qualitatively, the fact that we are infinitesimally small is what is creating the differences in quality. But technically, I mean, factually, we are nothing but Krishna in small quantity.
No, it's also not like that, because there is the oneness, but also there is the difference. So it means that, as I mentioned, the example of the ice cream. So the living entity. So the definition is that hogy elkülönült szerves rész, eternal part and parcel, but it's also separate in a way that I am a person and Krishna is another person, and we have a relationship. So we don't want to be one with Krishna, because if we would become one with Krishna, then we wouldn't be able to love him. And this is the whole bhakti idea, that I am identical living entity. I'm a separated person, and Krishna is another separated person. He's unlimited person. I'm a limited person. That there is an eternal difference between us, because if that wouldn't be, then we wouldn't be able to love each other. If I merge, if I become one with the ice cream, I can't taste the ice cream. So it's eternal. The Jivatma is eternally separated from Krishna, but also he's part of Krishna. This is the inconceivable oneness and difference. So eternally one and also eternally different in the same time.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So it's not just that I'm one with Krishna, but I'm just a small Krishna. No, he's the object of love, and I am the ashraya. I am the source of love, or I am the subject of love. What we can say.
No, thanks, Prabhuji. Very clear. I mean, just one other. The second question was basically saying that, I mean, was there anything that existed along with Krishna, or everything came out of Krishna? I mean, at the time of creation, how does what's the philosophy like? Things like were there elements like time, akasha, which which Krishna did not create, or was there a point of singularity of just Krishna and everything emerged from Krishna? How is that understood, Prabhuji?
If I understand well, that your question is that in the time of the creation of the material world, did everything emanate from Krishna, or there was something that was separated from Krishna already?
Yeah.
This was the question. No, actually, it's in the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam. Lord Vishnu says that before the creation, only I existed, and after the creation, I will remain. And between the two, only me who is existing. I know this word, but I forgot it in Sanskrit somehow. So Krishna says that he is everything. He's the source of everything. He emanates from his existence, the word, and after that he takes everything back to him. But also simultaneously oneness and difference in a way that Krishna's Bahiranga Shakti, his external potency, is always existing itself. So it means that the elements of there is this pradhan. So before the pradhan becomes Mahatattva, all the material elements, according Sankhya philosophy, according Srimad Bhagavatam, all the elements are like in a storage house without any differentiation, but all the elements are just there, indifferent, in an indifferent way. And this is what Krishna's external potency is. And when Krishna glances on the matter, and when he begins the creation with his glance, then all the material elements starts to differentiate and mixing with each other. And when Kala, when the time also enters into the picture, then everything becomes move. So everything will become moving. And when the living entity is also injected by the glance of Lord Krishna to the Prakriti, to the material world, then also the life in the material world, it becomes Mahatattva, it becomes shining. How is it the word is, so it becomes effulgent. So actually, Krishna's material energy eternally existing separated from Krishna, but this is Krishna's potency, like the heat and the fire is inseparable and also separate. But Krishna is the one who creates the world in a way that he brings existence as we see around us, and he will take it back to his existence. So it's simultaneously one and different in the same time. Krishna is one with his creation in a way that it's his own energy, but he also differs from it because he's transcendental and the world is, so it's lower energy and Krishna has his higher energy, like that. It's not easy to understand, and not easy to explain, especially in English for me. But
no,
I
thanks,
hope
Prabhuji. That was very
Suresh,
helpful.
yes,
Thank you.
Suresh, thank you very much. If I could just interject, just a point, Prabhu. So this point about Amsha, that you gave a few references from Gita, the concept of Amsha. Other philosophies of Vaishnavism, particularly Tattvavada, will actually say there are two types of amshas, Swarupa Amsha and Binna Amsha. Swarupa Amsha means avatars of Krishna, avatars of Vishnu, which are non-different from Krishna himself. So that is the Swarupa Amsha. Whereas when I say Jiva, Jiva is a Binna Amsha, which is a separate Amsha, where that Amsha is taken as close resemblance or ontological dependence. Jivas have a close resemblance to the Supreme, and ontologically they are dependent on the Supreme. So that is how the Binna Amsha concept comes in. I just wanted to include that. And also for Suresh, there is a Brahma, in Vedanta Sutra, in the second Adhyaya, third Pada, there are sutras 43 to 50 called Amsadikaranam, where Vedavyasa settles this dispute of difference relationship between Jiva and Brahman. Read through Acharya's Bhashyas and also Baladeva Vidyabhushana Bhashyas, where that Amsha concepts is dealt with in some details, so that'll give you some clarity. So we move on to the next question. We
Just
have
one, sorry, I just want to recite the Bhagavatam verse that refers here. Aham evasam evagre nanyad yat sadasat param paschad aham yad etat chaso vashisheta sosmi aham. This is Bhagavatam 2, 2nd canto, 9th chapter, 32. And Vishnu says that, O Brahma, this is, I translate from Hungarian, so it won't be perfect. O Brahma, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead who existed before the creation, when nothing else existed. There was no material existence. And I am, which you see now, I am whom you see now around you, means this world. And what after the annihilation stays, this also will be me. So it means that before, during, and after the creation, everything is Krishna.
Thank you very much. So we move on to Deval Bagalkot from Nottingham. Deval, do you want to put your question to Mohanadasa Prabhu, please?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, I think you ran out of time, so I would like to know a practical example of modern day life to explain this philosophy.
Aha. Oh, nice. I try to share the screen. Do you see the slides now?
Yes.
Do you see the slides? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to give a few examples. Thank you for the question. I was sad to not able to explain this. So for example, Krishna says in the Gita that Pandita Samadarshinaha, that a wise person sees everyone equally. So this is the oneness. Everyone is a spirit soul. Everyone is part and partial of God. Everyone is our brother and sister. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So all jivas are equal according this philosophy. But we also see that there are difference between the living entities, because, for example, if you have a little cat at home, you can kindly petting it. But if you want to do the same with a tiger, you will have serious problems. Or you have good friends who you can trust in, but there are bad people, and if you try to trust in them in the same way that you trust with your friends, then you will also have problems. So this Pandita Samadarshi, this Samadarshi, see everyone equally, but you have to also make differences as well. And you have to be wise, and you have to be conscious how to see equality and how to see the difference between people. Or now it's a big thing nowadays, men and women, are they equal, or are they different, or are they the same, or how is that? So for example, ladies have the right to do the same work than men. It's okay. But for example, we can't give birth to child. So we are not equal. I can't say I'm equal with a lady because I can't give birth a child, and ladies can do it. And what they do, it's, I guess, supernatural, being a mother. So we can't say that man and woman are completely one, because there are differences. But of course, ladies and men have the same right, practicing spiritual life, attaining perfection. They are equally valuable parts of society, but also there is serious differences, and we have to understand the oneness, because if you don't understand the oneness, then you will become discriminative, saying that, oh, ladies are like that, or men like that. Okay, men, they are like that, but ladies are not. But if you forget to make the discrimination and say everything is just the same, then the world turns upside down. And okay, this is not a good example. I would say that Britain also belongs to Europe and also not belongs to it, but now doesn't belong at all. So it's not a good example. And so there are religions, the same religion. All religions are meant for loving God and coming closer to God. But we see that also there are differences between religions, and there are religions that give more complete understanding about God. There are some where there are a little bit less informations about him, and like that.
So thank you, Dev. Yeah. Thank you very much. So we move on to the next question. We have somebody who raised hands, Bhavna. Could I request Bhavna to introduce herself and where she is making this call, please? And put that question to Mohandas Prabhu. Thank you.
If it's that Bhavna, then I know her.
Okay. So, Bhavna ji, are you there? Okay, so Bhavna ji is not online, Prabhu. So we move
Oh,
to...
Yeah. Oh, but she's from Nottingham. She's Manoj's sister.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it.
Hello, I'm here.
Oh, Bhavna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I think.
Can I see you? Would you turn on camera, please?
I'd rather not. I can't, hold on. Just bear with me 1 second.
Yeah.
Have I done it? I'm not sure.
I see something.
No, it's not you.
I'm just sitting quietly in a dark room at the moment, so the kids' family don't know where I am, so don't get disturbed. Yeah, I think you've already answered the question. Devalji already asked that question. It was the same question.
Okay, thank you, Bhavna.
Thank you.
So we
Hare
move
Krishna,
on.
thank you for joining us.
So we move on to Sushrut Kulkarni from Nottingham. Sushrut, I think you had 1 or 2 questions. So do you want to place that to Mohandas Prabhuji, please?
Hare Krishna, Mohandas Prabhu. Nice to see you again, and a very nice lecture. So my question was, as you said, that there are differences between souls, and some souls are good and some souls are not good, and you shouldn't trust the evil souls. And from what I've heard before, the evilness comes from turning away from Lord Krishna and getting darkness. Is that correct, what I've understood?
Yeah, I think yes. I understand in the same way.
Yeah, so does that mean that the swabhava of a jiva, which to my understanding is determined by the mixture of the sattva, rajas and tamas gunas in your own jiva, is that able to change? So does that mean that a terrorist who has committed heinous crimes can turn to the Lord and be forgiven of all his sins, and he becomes eligible for moksha? So all jivas are eligible for moksha, is the question.
Thank you for this wonderful question. And I wanted to speak about this but I wasn't able to do that. And so thank you for asking it. There is a nice saying that all saints has a past, but every sinner has a future.
Okay.
So it means that maybe those spiritual practitioners who are very saintly now, maybe they also did some bad things in the past, this life, previous life, someone. And those people who we say, oh, they are really bad people, but next day they come shave their heads, move into the temple and try to change themselves. And your question is that, is it possible for the jiva to change its svabhava, which is coming from the combination of the 3 modes of trigunas? I hope. It means that, of course, the answer is yes, but in my case, I found it quite difficult, to be honest. So I came with a very bad swabhava, and I came with a very low. I'm not sure if in my case it was in 3 modes of nature. I think it was only 2, tamas and rajas, and mainly tamas. I didn't recognize so much sattva in myself, and it's difficult to change that. But this is what spirituality is about. So Krishna says in the 14th, he dedicates the whole 14th chapter of the Gita about the 3 gunas. He explains which guna has which quality, and after that in the 17th and 18th chapter he also speaks about that how can one cultivate the mood of goodness. If you eat like in a sattvic way, if you dress like a sattvic way, if you speak in a sattvic way, if you even use water which is sattvic, and you wake up when it's sattvic. So this is a day-to-day choice that in the next 10 minutes, will I choose Tamaguna, Rajaguna, or Sattvaguna? And Krishna gives very good tools in the Gita, and also he goes into more details in the Uddhava Gita, which is in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna speaks much more about the gunas and how to choose between them, how to elevate themselves, the devotees, how can they elevate themselves. And just the last thought about that, if someone wants to change his or her nature during spiritual progression, have to try to live the most sattvic way as it's possible. So more and more aspects in our life, and we choose sattva guna. Sattvam yad brahma darshanam. It means that if you cultivate sattva guna, it brings you closer to transcendence. And then of course it's possible. Yeah. In all jivas it's possible. So mukti is the eternal nature of the living entity. So this is now, it's like someone is sick, just have to be cured, and all jivas which are sick now out of agyana, out of ignorance, they can get cured by the supreme knowledge and the practice of devotional service.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Shushrut. If we don't have any further questions, or can I just say, if anybody wants to ask any questions that you might have following on the Q&A, so there is no raising of hands here. So if we don't have any further questions, I would like to just thank Mohanadas Prabhuji for actually making the time and spending a good 2 hours with us. What is really heartening here is we've had a very good attendance today. We had about, at one point, we had about 37 or 40 or so phoning in and joining in, listening to your discourse. So I would say this was a Sunday Sunday evening so well spent. I would urge all of us to take up the devotional service, and the ISKCON movement is the exemplar of that. So let's continue our Sunday discussions, and I very much hope that I would be able to call upon Mohandas Prabhu's expertise and his lectures in subsequent lectures, Prabhu. So we will be in touch. We would really like to hear more, and we would like you to share your knowledge and experience in Bhakti philosophy. So with that note, I would again want to thank Mohandas Prabhu and all the devotees and friends and our regular folks who have attended today. A special thanks to Sudarshan and Chitra, who have been spearheading the Stoke Academic Hindu Society. And as we know, we opened up the Hindu Knowledge Academy in the UK in March of last year, around the time when we had our first COVID stuff. But actually, we have grown from strength to strength. So I would encourage those of us who have joined us for the first time to please sign and subscribe to the Sahiti group, the Stoke Academic Hindu Society group, and also the Hindu Knowledge Academy group. Our aim really here is to bring all Vaishnavas and all people of anybody who is interested to know about the Supreme to join our group. So it is just an opportunity to exchange ideas. So Mohandas Prabhu, thank you very much again. Hare Krishna, everyone. Sudarshan, if you like to add anything here, please.
No, Madhu. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mohandas Prabhu and Madhu Sudan, for arranging a wonderful lecture today. And thank you everybody for attending. Nearly we had 38 to 40 people attending, and so I mean I can't thank you enough. Wonderful lecture. Please come again and enlighten us with your wonderful knowledge. Yeah, that's all, Madhu, from me. If you want to.
Okay, Hare Krishna, and a big round of applause to Mohan Das Prabhu, please.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
I thank you very much for all of you. It was a great honor to be with you. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Take care.
Hare Krishna.